Marquardt. We are ready to keep writing about our biography about Alexander Graham Bell, which you guys are not writing about because you chose your own person yesterday, which we're super excited to hear about.
And they're still going to write about that same person that they chose yesterday.
You're not choosing a new person today.
No.
You're writing about that same person you chose yesterday all week long.
Okay.
We just are going to add some more information to that.
All right.
So yesterday you guys wrote your hook, you chose your person, and you wrote your topic sentence to tell us who you're writing about and what the, like, why are they famous. I chose Alexander Graham Bell. We did because he was the inventor of the telephone.
Yep.
So what we're going to focus on now is the body of our paragraph, all of the really important details that's really going to teach the reader about the person you wrote about.
Okay.
So we're going to start, okay, one really important thing, I'm going to back up a little bit, is yesterday we talked about how when you write about a person's life, you go in sequence. Sequence of events means from the beginning to the middle to the end, right? And so we want to make sure that we're using those sequence words at the beginning of our sentences.
Those transition words.
Can you give me some examples of transition sequence words?
Yeah, I'm going to start with the word first.
First, yes.
And we have next.
Next.
Then. After that. Finally, or last.
All of those are great choices.
Okay.
And they're going to help us keep the events of the person you're writing about, those events in their life, in order. And when I'm going to learn about somebody, I want to start with the beginning of their life. You're not going to talk about when they were 15 and then talk about when they died and then go back and talk about when they were born. That's confusing.
No, that's really confusing.
Yes. Which is why today we're going to start with 2 sentences about the beginning of their life. 2 separate sentences. That's not 2 lines. It's 2 sentences with a capital letter and a period at the end, and then another capital letter and another period at the end of the second sentence. And we want to make sure to use those transition words.
You got it.
So I will probably start my beginning with first, comma. We always put a comma after a transition word. Remember that. Okay, so first, and now I'm going to have to go into the book that we were researching and figure out something that happened at the beginning of Alexander Graham Bell's life, and that might be when and where he was born. It might be just an event from his childhood. Oh, look at this. Right at the beginning, it tells us that he was born on March 3rd, 1847 in Edinburgh, Scotland. I might just shorten it to Scotland if I wanted to. So that would probably be my first sentence, talking about when and where the person was born.
Yeah.
Okay? And then you're going to have a then sentence, okay? So I'm going to want to look for an event that happened maybe when they were younger, a child. Okay, so there's a lot of things. Both his dad and grandfather were speech teachers and also named Alexander.
That's pretty cool.
Huh?
I don't know if you read, I just read this while you were talking.
Tell me.
It said that when Alexander was born, he did not have a middle name.
Wow.
So the word Graham, he actually gave to himself when he was 11 years old. He was just like, I'm tired of being Alexander Bell, probably because his...
I like what they said. His parents were not upset. They liked the new name. They're like, sweet.
Yeah.
So
cool.
I should have changed it to Sabrina Princess Grant.
I know.
Or Sabrina Butterscotch Grant.
Here I am, Rachel Marie.
What a boring middle name.
Boring.
My middle name is Morgan. Which is kind of cool because I live in Morgan Hill.
That is cute.
I'd rather it be like Unicorn, Sabrina Unicorn Grant.
Yeah.
Or Kitten.
I want to be like Sprinkles.
Anyways, we're off track.
Rachel Sprinkles Marquardt.
I like it.
Yeah. I think that would be cool.
I don't know if your mom would like it, but
I'm not going to.
They might not be as progressive as the Bells were, but that's okay. Okay, so anyways, we're going to start with our transition word first, and you guys are going to give us some information about when your person was young. It might be when and where they were born. It might just be something that happened when they were a child that you want to talk to us about. Where they went to school, what did they study? So can we flip back? Thank you, you read my mind.
I'm on it.
Okay. So we're not going to write out this whole thing, but I might say something like, first, Alexander Graham Bell was born on March, whatever it said, 1347 in Scotland. And then I put a period at the end of that sentence. And I might say next, okay, we want to use our transition words at the beginning of all of our sentences. Next, comma, after your transition word, I'm going to give another interesting fact about when he was a child. Next, Alexander's dad and father were both also named Alexander and were speech teachers. That was pretty cool because we know later on in his life he also becomes a speech teacher, and that interest in speech helps him to create a telephone, which allows people to speak long distances apart.
Which is super cool because it also mentioned that his mother was almost completely deaf.
That is an important fact in his life that we might want. I mean, we're not saying you only have to write 2 sentences. If you want to go above and beyond and write a third, like that's really interesting to me. I might include that.
How interesting.
Very cool.
There's so many cool facts that you'll definitely be able to find something that you want to write about your famous person.
All right, then moving on to the second section, you guys are going to write 2 sentences describing important events in their life or what makes them famous. So if your first sentence talked about how Amelia Earhart was a female pilot, you're probably going to want to write about something to do with why she's a famous pilot here. If you wrote about because Albert Einstein was a famous inventor in your topic sentence, you're probably going to write about some of his inventions here. Okay, and for us, it being Alexander Graham Bell and his important thing being that he invented the telephone, we're going to definitely want to include that here. And there might be other things that he invented that we want to include here as well. But we want to make sure that 1, we're using transition words, and 2, we're following exactly what it says. You've got to tell us what they're famous for and maybe give us some details about that.
Yep.
Okay, so we have first, next, then I might use the word then, right?
Yep.
And then maybe after that, because we know tomorrow we're gonna talk about the end of their life.
And we could even do a phrase like later in life. I think
I like that. I want to use that.
A few weeks ago we talked about how transitions don't just have to be words, but they can also be short phrases. So when he was 11, or later in life, or once he became an adult, those are actually also transition phrases.
Lovely.
That's why we do this gig together.
It is. We remind each other of things. You are so correct. So these are awesome optional phrases. Just make sure you're using some kind of transition and that they're sequence words. They're going in order, and that you are 2 things at the beginning of your person's life, and then elaborate on other important events and why they're famous. What did they invent? What did they do? What feat did they accomplish that made them famous and worthy of having books on epic about them?
And use your research. This does not have to come from your head. Please go back to the resources that you were using. Go back to Epic, find that information, and then put it into your own words, please. You do not need to copy it directly from the text. We want to see it in a way that you would maybe say it to someone else written down. All right, I think that's it for today.
Yes.